Hi guys, Dr. Davis here and welcome to your midterm exam review. So I just wanted to go over a few basics before we actually jump into the review. The review sessions in this course are basically mock test sessions, so they're not a be-all end-all study guide. So it's up to you to make sure that you've kept up with your reading so far in the course, that you're studying the notes that you've taken along the way, and that's probably the best approach to study for this, is to just make sure you're studying the notes you've taken and all the other materials in the course up until this point. So the midterm exam covers chapters 1 through 6. You may not use your notes, textbooks, or any other references while you're taking the exam, so the exam is closed book. You will have 2 hours to complete the 100-question non-proctored exam, though. Exam questions are multiple choice and true and false. And please refer to syllabus page 2, the link for syllabus page 2 in our course, as that is where you'll find the actual time frame of when the when the exam opens and when it closes. So it's very important that you understand you must take the exam during that given time frame, because once the exam closes, it cannot be reopened for any reason. In addition to that, make sure that you're taking the exam on a secure internet connection and in a secure location on a secure computer. Now you might be saying, why in the world am I saying that? Well, the department now has a new guideline that says if your internet glitches or anything like that while you're taking the exam, I'm not allowed to reset the exam for you. So your grade will stand even if you've only answered just a few questions on the exam. I can't reset the exam for you. So it's very important that you're taking it on a really good internet connection, because if something happens, I'm just not allowed to reset the exam for you. All right, so like I said, this is not a be-all end-all study guide, but I will ask you a few questions, give you a few seconds to think about it, and then tell you what the correct answer is. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right, first question. What are the 3 elements that distinguish interpersonal communication from other forms of human communication? It is a distinctive transactional form of human communication involving mutual influence for the purpose of managing relationships. Or it involves treating people as objects, responding to roles rather than the person, and distinctive conversations. Or it is a mechanical, transactional form of human communication where each person has a role to perform. Or it involves communicating with someone you care about, communicating in an I-it relationship, and treating people as individuals. All right, so the correct answer here, the 3 elements that distinguish interpersonal communication from other forms of human communication is: it is a distinctive transactional form of human communication involving mutual influence for the purpose of managing relationships. So the correct answer here would be A. Next question. What percentage of time do most people spend of their waking hours communicating with others? Is it 30 to 40%, 80 to 90%, 75 to 85%, or none of the above? And the correct answer here is going to be B, 80 to 90%. Wow, that's a long time, right? So why not be good at it? Next question. Social learning theory suggests that the way we behave is at the mercy of our genetic makeup. True or false? Social learning theory suggests that the way we behave is at the mercy of our genetic makeup. True or false? And that's going to be false. Social learning theory says that the way we behave is socially learned. So you can think of it that way. So it's not anything to do with genetics, but it's socially learned from others. All right, next question. To be considered communication, a message must be sent intentionally. True or false? The correct answer is going to be false. We communicate all the time, and a lot of times it's unintentional. So sometimes we give off body language messages that way that's completely unintentional. For instance, we're at a friend's house and they tell you to taste their cooking, and you kind of accidentally make a face like, oh, gosh, that was terrible. You wouldn't intentionally want to hurt your friend, but your communication was still sent. So to be considered communication, a message must be sent intentionally or unintentionally. All right. So when your communication partner's drumming fingers distract you so that you forget what you wanted to say, we could say that drumming is a form of feedback, complication, noise, or decoding. So the drumming of fingers. And the correct answer here is going to be C, noise. So that's going to be a type of noise that often distracts us from the message. All right, next question. Which of the following statements describes a communication channel? The words and messages used to communicate, the filters through which messages pass, the pathways used to send a message, or the transmitter of a thought or feeling. So communication channel, and the correct answer here is going to be C, the pathways used to send a message. Next question. People tend to give more weight to positive information than negative information about others. True or false? Unfortunately, this is false. People tend to actually give more weight to negative information than positive information. I really wish it were the other way around, but it's not. So this would be false. When a nonverbal message contradicts a verbal message, we almost always believe the nonverbal message, true or false. Let's think of a situation in which you may have experienced in your life. Let's say that you're having a conflict scenario with your relationship partner, and you ask the person, are you okay? And they say, I'm fine. And they have crossed hands, or crossed arms and squinched up faces, and you could just really tell they're not fine. So when the nonverbal message, the body language they're giving off, contradicts the verbal message of I'm fine, we almost always believe the nonverbal message. So therefore, this would be true. Next question. When the judge directed the jury to disregard that last statement made by the witness, she ignored the fact that interpersonal communication is irreversible, complicated, governed by rules, or involves both content and relationship dimensions. And the correct answer here is something that I tell people all the time, and you have to remember this, guys, because it's so important in our everyday lives, and especially the people that say that they don't have a filter or they just say what's on their mind. You have to remember that interpersonal communication is irreversible. So what you put out there cannot be taken back. It can be forgiven, but it can't be taken back. So it's very important that we understand that in terms of communication and others especially. Although we express our emotions both verbally and non-verbally, our non-verbal messages often communicate our emotions more honestly. True or false? So let's go back to that scenario that I just gave you about the conflict situation between the relationship individuals. So although we express our emotions both verbally and non-verbally, as they did in that conflict situation, our non-verbal messages often communicate our emotions more honestly. Is that true or false, given that scenario we just looked at? And that's going to be true. Our nonverbal messages are communicating in that situation that that person was not fine. All right, people with low self-esteem are often likely to be more critical of others, open to seeking opportunities to improve skills that need improving, comfortable having others observe them when they perform, or open to admitting to having both strengths and weaknesses. So the correct answer here would be, unfortunately, people with low self-esteem are likely to be more critical of others. So people that often are people that criticize other people are they're critical of others because they have low self-esteem. All right, next question. Lindy has an algebra class this semester, one that she's dreaded since beginning college. Math has never been an easy subject for her, so when her first test comes around, she's convinced that she'll fail. Sure enough, when her exam is returned, she has scored a 56%, an F. Lindy is a victim of her own social decentering, looking glass self, communication apprehension, or self-fulfilling prophecy. And this is so true in so many things that we do, guys. Self-fulfilling prophecy. So we tell ourselves we'll do well, often we do well. We tell ourselves we'll fail, often we fail. So remember what you're putting out there, because there's a theory that says that self-fulfilling prophecy is we live up to it. We live up to whatever we tell ourselves what we're going to be. So the answer here would be D. All right, next question. William James identified three components of the self: the material, the social, and the spiritual. The material self is based upon all the tangible things you own, the part of your interactions with others, your internal thoughts and introspections about your values and moral standards, or your needs and desires. And so the material self is based on all the tangible things you own. It's literally the material things that you own. So kind of keep it in mind that way. Next question. What process is involved when we direct our attention to specific elements of our environment and ignore others? And so we often tell other people, especially our children and our spouses, that they do this. So that would be called selective perception. Selective perception. So often we select what we want to perceive and what we want to ignore. So something to keep in mind there. Last question. When we categorize individuals and attribute a set of qualities to them because of their membership in that category, what perceptual process are we using? Selective perception, patterning, standardizing, or stereotyping? And often people see this as only a negative thing, but it's actually just a part of human nature. So when we categorize individuals and attribute a set of qualities to them because of their membership to that category, we're using stereotyping. So stereotyping doesn't always have to be negative. It often is, but it doesn't have to be. And it's just a normal part of being human. So we can work to overcome stereotyping in a way that's damaging to others, but it's just natural for us to categorize people and individuals and events. So, all right. So with that in mind, let's kind of jump back to your course really quickly. So I'm gonna kind of move this around for you guys, and I'm gonna go back to the main section here. Okay. So when we log into the course, this is what we're going to see. All right, so you can see on the left-hand side, we've got the start here, announcements, messages, and so forth. So what you're going to do to access the exam is you're going to go down here and click on non-proctored exams. And when we click on non-proctored exams, we're going to see the BSI, BioSig identification that I talked about in the course orientation. So you'll need to click that and verify your identity before you can access the midterm exam. And then after that, you will click on the midterm exam and be able to access it and answer all those questions. So don't forget, it's multiple choice and true and false. It covers the first 6 chapters of your textbook. You have 2 hours to complete this 100-question exam. Make sure that you're taking the exam in a secure location on a secure computer, because I cannot reset the midterm or the final exam if you have any issues that arise per the department. So just make sure of that. Otherwise, make sure to check, and I'm going to move this over so you can see. Make sure to check syllabus page 2 and click there and look at our calendar for when the exam opens and closes. You generally have about 7 days to complete the exam, and it is specified on syllabus page 2 what the dates are. If you do not complete the exam during that given time frame, you will receive a 0 on the exam, no exceptions. So make sure that you do understand that clearly. The same goes for the final exam as well. So if you do have any questions, you can reach out to me. Otherwise, enjoy your week, and thank you for your hard work so far.